All right, welcome to the Beam where curiosity meets conversations, taking us a step further into the future we desire. I'm Sunes Nathaniel, and today we are discussing a topic that resonates with every Nigerian and indeed every global citizen who believes in the transformative power of technology. At the heart of our dialogue today is the Nigerian dream and what it means, to achieve the Nigerian dream in an era of artificial intelligence, digital innovation, and the increasingly interconnected world. Can technology be the key that unlocks the aspiration of millions of young Nigerians? And if so, how do we navigate the complexities of sovereignty, collaboration, and sustainable development in this brave new digital age? We'll be exploring all this and more. But before we get into that, let us take you to our quick tech update. And when we come back, we'll get right into this discussion. Stay with us, don't go away.
Hello and welcome. Here is a quick tech update for the week. MTN Nigeria has been named the fastest telecom operator in West and Central Africa with a staggering 95.62 Mbps download speed. Now, this performance is powered by its expanding 5G network, setting a benchmark for competitors in the region. Meanwhile, global tech companies like Microsoft, Google, and TikTok have contributed a whopping 2.5 trillion naira in taxes in the first half of 2024. Now, this highlights the growing economic impact of the digital economy in Nigeria. In the meantime, electronic money transfer levy introduced with a 50 naira charge on transfers above 10,000 naira is projected to generate 800 billion naira between 2025 and 2027, showcasing its role as a significant revenue stream for the government. In another development, OpenAI's ChatGPT continues its meteoric rise with over 300 million weekly active users. Features like AI-powered search and integration with Apple's Siri are key drivers behind this growth. On the foreign scene, a strategic partnership between Microsoft Africa's Transformation Office and NVIDIA aims to accelerate AI innovation across Africa. Over 2,400 startups are set to benefit from this initiative, solidifying Africa's position as an emerging AI hub. Now, staying with collaborations, Kenya and Germany are ramping up partnerships in renewable energy and ICT, from advancing geothermal projects to Olkaria to fostering digital innovation. The two countries are setting new milestones in tech and sustainability. Now, that's your quick tech update for this week. Stay tuned for more cutting-edge news from the ever-evolving world of technology. I'll see you next time.
All right, welcome back to this conversation. It's about a dream, one that is uniquely Nigerian, yet universally shared. It's about opportunities, innovation, and a future where young minds are not just consumers of technology, but creators of a system that shapes our world. Joining me to unpack these ideas are two incredible thought leaders. First, we have Victor Aliko, a development economist and strategist who's also an Oxford Foundry Fellow, bringing a wealth of knowledge on the intersection of policy, economy, technology, and sustainable development. And next, we have Tinoade Oguntuyi, an award-winning IT and network infrastructure leader, tech mentor, and STEM inclusion evangelist who has been at the forefront of shaping the ecosystem for underrepresented groups. Victor and Tinoade, you're welcome to the Beam. It's an absolute honor to have you guys here.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, well, let's start with Victor right here in the studio. Victor, the question is, what really is the Nigerian dream? Do we have a Nigerian dream? What is it? What does it look like, especially in this era?
Fantastic. If you use the concept Nigerian dream, it is actually used to exemplify, explain the dreams and aspirations of Nigerians, most especially in this case, the youth, who constitute over 70% of Nigeria's population. But the word Nigerian dream is something I think is vague in the minds of most youths on the street. Vague in the sense that it's a concept we see in abstraction. But in reality, we haven't felt it, we haven't seen it, we haven't imagined it. Nigeria is still a country, 64 years old, still battling with trying to define what a nationhood is to us as a people. You have over 250 ethnic groups that have been foisted together, still trying to find their feet. If you read the book, Remaking Nigeria, written by Chido, 60 years, 60 voices, he's trying to exemplify that 60 years, as at 2020 when the book was written, we still have 60 voices still trying to seek for justice, still trying to seek for economic prosperity, still trying to seek for a sense of oneness, still trying to seek for unity. So these are words that are absent when you use the word the Nigerian dream. If you look at the current wave of the Japa syndrome amongst vast majority of Nigerian youths, if there is a Nigerian dream, I'm not sure if vast majority of our youth will be exiting the country for greener pastures elsewhere. So the Nigerian dream is something I think is still, it hasn't been clearly defined. I don't think none is existing. And I don't think Nigerian youth will resonate with the concept. But I think it's something that successive governments have not been able to identify and agree on what the Nigerian dream is all about. But before we talk about the Nigerian dream,
I will come back to you because I want you to start that definition. We want to start that definition from the beam today. Okay, let's go to Tinu. I want to hear her own take. Tinu, what is the Nigerian dream? Especially you who is in that full, tech ecosystem. I want to know, what is the Nigerian dream? Basically, what is it for you? What does it feel in this digitized world today?
Okay, thank you so much, Sonia. And I will lean towards some of the points raised by Victor, while I will also take it based on my own field. I think the average youth in Nigeria just wants a good standard of living, opportunity to explore, and also to have a fair share in whatever is available. So I work with a lot of youth, especially the marginalized in quote, and I see the hunger most times that they really want to be part and contribute to the development of technology and its sphere generally. While I would lean towards what Victor said, that if you ask an average Nigerian also that what is the Nigerian dream, they'll begin to look at you in a funny way because they don't even trust the government enough to create that enabling environment for them to be able to achieve their dreams. So to them, it's vague, like you said, and they are beginning to think, is there even a dream? Let me even survive. Let me even wake up, have something to eat. Then we'll begin to look at the dream. But working with you, like I said, I've seen a number of you that really want to do something different. They also want to put their own names on the map of the world globally, to also be named as somebody that has achieved something. 10 months ago, I had an IT student work in our organization. I call him a scholar, by the way. And when this young man started telling me some of the things he aspired to do, I was amazed because at age 18, he had so much ideas. And he's in one of the public universities in Nigeria. So perhaps if it's a private university, I might say, oh, maybe they have opened them up to some concept. But from a public university, he was telling me about how he would use programming languages to build applications that will be able to meet some of the needs they have that he has identified in school. And was just looking for other ways, people that have gone ahead of him on how to bring this together. So I believe that there is a dream, but many people aren't looking at it because they even want to survive first. If you look at the kid, that you see that survival comes first, right? So everybody wants to even jump in that direction.
Okay,
that's
thank you very much. Well, let me come back to the studio here. So there's something that you guys have, beat around somewhere around the corner. You have said that somehow it's almost like the government is supposed to define what the Nigerian dream would be. There's that concept coming up. In your definition, in you trying to define right now, how much of the government is going to play a role? And what role does the youth themselves play in defining what the dream should be in this era?
Yeah, so there's a reason why we use the concept leadership. We use the word leadership, it means they have to lead by example. So we're looking forward to a country where those, particularly the executive arm of government, both at the national level, at the subnational, that's the states, and even the local government will have a honest fora where they can sit down together with both young people of different age brackets, people of stakeholders in this country. By stakeholders, I mean both religious leaders, both ethnic leaders, both political players in the three arms of government, the young people, the different groups, even the NGOs, sit down in a common table. Something close to that was when we had the national confab, where we sat down together as a country to define our core existence as a country. We have different ethnic groups. If you meet people on the streets, people tend to owe more allegiance by telling you they are Igbo, Hausa, or Yoruba. There's no that common sense of belonging that we feel we are Nigerians. For instance, we can't talk of the Nigerian dream, we can't talk of nationhood when we still use things like state of origin in Nigeria. When around employment opportunities, people still define you're from this tribe, you're from this region. There's no sense of nationhood. So we still have different factions 64 years after, still trying to battle for existence. Some people are discussing about issues around justice in maybe leadership and all that. You see the current tax reform bills, some section of the country saying they're not comfortable with it. You see issues around leadership, some section of the country saying they have not held precedent since democracy. You see issues around some sections of the country saying they want to leave Nigeria as a country. So when there is nationhood, when there is the Nigerian dream, you don't see those things happening. But I think the leaders will have to take a lead. You don't expect somebody from either of the three major ethnic groups to begin to lead conversations around nationhood. But I think that's actually the first step towards development, if we want to develop as a nation. We're hoping to see presidents who emerge and say, first, let's seek for justice. Let's seek for that common sense of nationhood. Let's have our own Nigerian inclusive, developed constitution, for instance. Not one that was developed by the military, where inputs were not taken from the key stakeholders that owns the country. So all of these conversations are things we need to do. Right. And at the forefront of it should be the youth that constitute over more than 70% of the population. And if we want to discuss nationhood, if we want to discuss the Nigerian dream, it must, again, be youth-driven. It must be youth-inclusive. And of course, there's a component of technology inclusive to
Thank you very much for cueing me in. Now let's come to Tinu. In coming to the point where technology plays a role when it comes to, what we're trying to talk about, the Nigerian dream. How does, inequality and, equality, trying to attain equality in the tech ecosystem, how does it play into, the attainment for youths when it comes to the achievement of, the Nigerian dream? Whatever it is, we can, think about it as we speak now.
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Many a times inclusion has been perceived largely as gender. Most times when you talk about inclusion, people are looking at, is it male or female? But many a times you also want to look at people that you call the underdogs is also part of it, and also the young people. Because there is this tradition of this is how it has been done years ago, this is how we'll be doing it and forever and ever, amen, So we need to begin to give the youth a voice. Sadly, though, in Nigeria, many times we converse that, in the arm of government, we need more younger people. And when the so-called young people even get to power, you see how they mess things up sometimes. But nonetheless, we need to begin to see another dimension to how ideas flow. I tell you, one of the things we do in ICSL where I work is that we encourage the infusion of the young people, not because of anything. There is this thing called reverse learning. There's a lot that you can actually tap into in the way, especially the Gen Zs, I will say. I know a lot of people will say they have difficulties working with them, but if you're able to get them to see it, they have a lot to deliver. They have a lot to bring to the table that, we'll say is shaking the table, but these are ideas that honestly, they are just brand new and green. And when they bring it to the table, you'll be amazed at how much a whole company overall can be transformed because of their ideas. I think we need to begin to give the voice to the younger generation. Just like Victor rightly captured it, you cannot keep the so large part of the population, more than half, keep them quiet. You cannot silence them. That means we're not moving in any way close to innovation or trying to do anything big. When we really want to get things done seriously, especially when it comes to the tech space, we need to give the youth a voice. Let me give you good instances. What about piggyvest? I know, I just want to touch on this that Victor mentioned, maybe there's no typical Nigerian dream. But the truth is that technology is something that intersects, right? Piggyvest was built by students that just left school. When people want to use piggyvest, do they come from the angle of, Yemi is the Yoruba person and the other person is the Igbo person, so I wouldn't use it because it's solving problems. So everybody definitely, they'll use it. So we giving the youth a voice is also going to do us much good.
I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Victor, here. Let's speak to it. Like, what are the possibilities? You started, there's something we're talking about equality, equality, equity, and all that. How does it play into? She said tech becomes like an equalizer, right? So how do you see that play out into, attaining that Nigerian dream?
Fantastic. So there's a new concept called DEAI, diversity, equity, inclusion, and now access as the fourth number. If you look at access, in that case, diversity, equity, and inclusion, it has a technological component. I would have thought that post-COVID-19, the advent of the future of work in terms of including tech space. It was an avenue for us to have more gender inclusion. I'll give a clear example. In 2021, I did a study for Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation on women's economic empowerment. And part of our discovery was that beyond education, one of the greatest forms of women's economic empowerment is technology. So our thinking around it is that the future of work is one that is sensitive to gender, is one that is sensitive to women when we talk about gender inclusion. If you also look at the gender equality bill that was stepped down, I think in 2021 to 2022 by the National Assembly, it was a sad reality, but I think it was one that should have been able to address issues around gender inclusion as it relates to women. Because if you look at our poverty numbers, 60%, 6 out of every 10 poor Nigerians are women or girls. And the assumption is that for us to address issues around poverty, at the front burner should be discussing conversations around using technology, using the IT to see how we can leverage or address issues around poverty, absolute poverty to be specific. And I think it is one that workspaces at the moment are again sensitive of gender issues. I've done some grant reviews in the past, and one of the unspoken rules we look out for when we do background checks on companies is to see how gender sensitive or gender inclusive they are. So I think it is one that resonates with us. But again, if I go to your second question, what are the possibilities? I will take you back to, if you read a book called Prosperity Paradox, written by Clayton Christensen, it clearly highlights that for us to attain growth or development, we must key in market disruptive innovation. And when you talk of market disruptive innovations, it clearly will be led by young people, youth, at the forefront. I'm sure Nigerians' youth have proven to be resilient. If you look at, we have been able to use social media, for instance, during the NSAS to air our voices. In the last good governance and bad governance protest, we have been able to use social media to air, to demand accountability from the government. But I think it's also something Nigerian youths have also shown to be resilient. We have had some unicorn companies that has over $1 billion valuation in the world globally have been led by Nigerians. It's showing you that Nigerians are actually willing if they have the right support. But then there have been issues around funding, there have been issues around business climate being favorable to Nigerians. But again, like I said, we must upskill our youth, which is critical. So we must include things like artificial intelligence, machine learning. They are newer concepts in our educational curriculum. But again, it hasn't trickled down to secondary, the primary level. We need to include things like coding in our curriculum. And again, it must come from an educational planner. So these things are interrelated. But I'm sure Nigerian youths are ready. But if we are offered the right support, the right funding, the right platform, the right policy framework, we'd achieve more than what we think we are doing. And again, I'll take us back to Kanju. The Kanju is a concept raised by a Nigerian, where she said the Kanju spirit is the spirit of resilience, the spirit of hard work. And that Kanju spirit can only be seen by the spirit of Nigerians or Africans.
All right. I'm hoping viewers at home are enjoying this because it's so beautiful and enlightening. I'm hoping we're trying to, envision, we're trying to cook together what we can, attain as a Nigerian people, called the Nigerian dream. Coming back to you, Ms. Tinoade, he has just driven us into your main space when it comes to tech and disruptions. And so we started off with digital innovation. And the question will be, how do we envision a future, for the average Nigerian youth, looking at that whole innovation process, that can usher us into the digital future we're looking out for. I think that's your forte. So tell us, how will this, play out?
So much. Yeah, I know the last question I answered based on the context of youth, but because I'm also a STEM inclusion advocate that is advocating every time for more girls and women in STEM, I will say that one of the challenges that we are seeing is that there are these biases that exist, and it kind of limits how girls and women find their place in the tech space especially. So I encourage girls and women and say that, you see, the whole ecosystem is like a puzzle. You see yourself in the big picture and you'll be able to fit in. Now, coming back to the future, digital innovations and all, I think we need to start coming to the concept where we deal with things as it comes to us directly and not like a copy and paste kind of methodology. And why did I say this? Many a times in this part of the world, we tend to consume so much rather than producing. And that's largely taking us steps backward. But thank God for the resilient spirit of the youth and the people of the country, because we are always looking for ways to get better. We need to break some barriers, and many a times we don't even look at that. I like the point that Victor mentioned about bringing coding, AI, and all that. But the truth is that we all agree that because a youth, a girl, or a boy, or a woman does not speak English, does not make them illiterate. We need to start bringing this concept to how we can directly consume or deal with them or actualize them. So do we still have programming languages that now people that don't speak English language, for instance, can code with our own native languages, maybe Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, and every other language that we have in this country that is really diverse. So we need to start looking in that direction of concepts so that we are able to utilize technology to its fullest. See what is happening in China, for instance. I know just yesterday my boys were telling me that, in North Korea, I said maybe there are some North Koreans there. I said no, they don't really allow them to travel because everything they want to do, they do it right there. And it comes down to the fact that if they need to innovate things that they can consume, do they need like an outsider? We need to start seeing the effect and application of technology as it trickles down to affecting us directly. And that speaks to applicability. Okay, we want to develop things that are globally relevant, but we need to meet our own local issues. And that is really paramount. Not until we begin to see in that direction. Honestly, we will not have it really big. So we need to start looking at how to bring technology in what's manufacturing. Today, in my own space, we import almost everything we use in the telecom space.
All right, I want to hold you there and come quickly because we are almost running out of time. In 1 minute, okay. She has really come into sovereignty and collaborations. I want you to speak to that in just 1 minute. I mean, we just had a collaboration right now with France. In 1 minute, how does this tie into, taking Nigeria to that step where we want, the Nigerian youth to achieve the dream?
Yeah, I'm worried with the current bilateral romance between Nigeria and France because the French economy has been supportive to the Nigerian economy in terms of, if you look at total in areas of oil and gas, if you look at most of the most recent bilateral relationship is around security, bearing in mind that most of our border countries or neighbors are Francophone. Yeah. They are Francophone. If you look at issues in terms of support to economy, the second highest creditor apart from China is the French through the AFD. That's the French Development Bank. And they have been supportive, but I'm sure a lot of Nigerians are beginning to raise questions, particularly looking at the Burkina Faso experience, Niger, and our neighbors that have not panned out well, the bilateral relationship between these countries. But Nigeria is a key player in the African economy, and I think the French even understands that it is difficult to discuss the African economy without including Nigeria. So the recent relationship is supposed to foster
more growth.
Yeah, more growth between both countries, but I hope it's not one that is parasitic.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Sinimade and Victor. And that's where we're going to, wrap up this episode of The Beam. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
All right. Today's conversation reminds us quickly that the dreams are not just ideas, and they're supposed to push us to be more innovative, blueprints to transformative actions. And I'm Sunes Nathaniel. Until I come your way next time, do not forget, stay curious, stay engaged, stay informed. God bless Nigeria. See you next time. In fifth place, we see a discussion around the tax reform bills and the election in Edo State.
In Edo election, it was peaceful, free, and fair. Would you say the Edo election is the kind of election Nigerians deserve? Yes, very, very true. I told you. Is it a perfect election? Is it a good election? There is no perfect election. Is it a good election? All over the world. It's a fantastic election outcome. It's a fantastic election.
Coming forth on our list is a conversation regarding Farotimi's arrest. Mr. G.T. Ogunye on Politics Today asserts that the criminal libel is not a valid law in Lagos State.
Honorable Justice Ogunwumiju, in his judgment in that case, had declared that the law of criminal defamation is dead in Lagos State and Edo State.
Still on Farotimi's arrest, our third video on the countdown is a clip in which Laoli Akonde says he is concerned about Afe Babalola's reputation.
You will expect somebody like Chief Afe Babalola, with all of his respect and regard, and we respect him tremendously, rightly so, that he would rather pursue this matter as a civil case.
In second place, we see Governor Zulum, who was a guest on Sunday Politics, speaking on ending insurgency in Borno State and the tax reform bills. Coming first on our countdown this week is a clip in which we see Honorable Dogara questioning Nigeria's northern leaders who are challenging Tinubu's tax reform bill.
Now, I don't know, he didn't address some of these issues, but I believe in the course of our interface, he will address them, whether there was enough consultation with the governors. But I want to say this, at the state level, how many people do governors consult when they're making laws?
That's it on our countdown today. Join us next week for more.